Yeah, so we have seen the common disconnect between lead flow and cash flow. Oftentimes there's even just a lead flow problem, right? But in between leads coming in and cash going into your business, aka impact, aka serving people, is that sales system, is that engine for your business that's going to get the car as far as you want to take it.
How do I get someone who is going about their day on a daily basis and they know they have a kink on their shoulder, right? Like, I don't like this job. I kind of want to quit. And it's there. They don't do anything about it. So he creates something like how to get leads for your own business, the 5-day lead challenge, right? And at that point, someone's like, oh, maybe I could get a lead.
Possibilities.
Yeah.
Show people possibilities. I think the important thing there is I heard someone else sharing this same perspective of like perception is reality oftentimes. And what's funny is even if we know something isn't real, like say it's AI generated or whatever, or a false news, if you get enough of it, it still plants that subconscious seed. If all you've seen about that person or that thing or that topic isn't true, that's still kind of there and can inform, it can kind of start to plant and like, oh, maybe it's true enough. And you know what I mean? So it
100%.
one, it reminds us of the power of the subconscious and just like planting seeds consistently. And if we can plant seeds of possibility and truth, I think that has even more power than, things that aren't true.
I'm going to get real technical with you right now. I'm going to get real technical. This one, I learned this from from Tony Robbins. And he says there, if you want to change anyone's habit, if you want to pretty much brainwash someone, first step you need to do is watch the movie. What's that? The Scrooge movie. What's that movie called? Where it was a Scrooge and he had to change his personality. The Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Right? So if you want to change anyone's personality, first watch that, because there's a little piece in there that he calls the I totally forgot the name now. Now it's escaping me. But he uses this. There's a strategy inside there. That strategy of what Scrooge went through, seeing his past, his present, and his future. Those different experiences, whether they were, mind you, they were all fake. They were all a dream. Now, mind you, so just to your point, if it's enough fake information, you can change someone's habits or their behavior by seeing enough of it, right? And he says that's the foundation. If you can imagine an idea or a belief, right, is a tabletop, and you only had one experience to it, that's only one leg. How stable would that table be? Right? You put a cup on it to challenge it, you put a weight on it with one leg, it can topple over, right?
Real quick.
But if you put another experience, 2, 3, 4, now it's a strong table, right? You could put some heavy weight on it, like you could really challenge it, put something huge on it, and it'll be so much stable that you really can't remove that, and it becomes stronger. Now, mind you, with AI, you can create a table with 100 legs, and that will be an ugly table. It'll be a really ugly table, but it'll be so strong. It'll be extremely strong. And the only way to remove that one leg is to question that leg of experience. So say, for example, in the case for Dr. Scrooge, right, or the Scrooge movie, he looks at his past and the ghost shows him his past and say, hey, this is what has happened because you're rude to them. And if he looked in the past and that person was crying, he'd be like, oh man, like that was a horrible experience. Imagine he went and talked to that person and said, hey, in the past, I remember I did this and it hurt your feelings. And the guy's like, no, that didn't hurt my feelings. That questioned the entire belief. Like, oh, well, now that leg is broken because it wasn't true. Right? You question it. So that's a good way to be able to, in marketing, add belief in a way through experiences that builds the belief that really changes the behavior in their life altogether.
I really like that. And oftentimes the legs have to be earned, right? It's not, you can create things with AI, but I think a lot of times we're talking about kind of the conviction aspect, right? The more we press in and do the hard work and show ourselves facts that this is the truth, and this is what we're moving towards, and like stack success breeds success, and then you share that with the world, either in your own stories, our own stories, or customers that you've impacted, then that belief has even more strength. The legs are even sturdier for people to come put their drink on. Like, oh, okay, maybe I can check this table out, and really
That's
start
100%.
to capital or to stand on top of the belief of others and start to make it their own.
That is 100% true because what's that saying? It says you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink,
Yes.
right? And if
Yes.
that person, if you're forcing them with content that they're not willing to consume, it's not in their behavior to consume that in the first place. It will be useless information. It's like going to, I don't know, going to a Republican, I guess, or Democrat or whatever. I don't even like mentioning politics. That's something I want to take out of my mind. It's like taking someone. It's like going to Steve Larson, and then in this case, he loves ClickFunnels, and you bring to him Go High Level, right, or something, right, and you give him the idea like, hey, this is how Go High Level works to save time, and it saves you money. At that point, he's so cemented in his belief of like ClickFunnels has worked for me. Look at he's 8 million a year now, right? He's not going to want to consider that whatsoever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But if you told him something like, oh, this tool can be a white label in addition to ClickFunnels, and kind of pre-frame it so like, oh, well, he could give it to his customers in a way where it makes ClickFunnels easier to use in the follow-up way, in the
Yes.
sequence way. Now maybe he will consider it, right? It changes that whole idea or perception for them, for him to want to ingest it now.
Yeah.
Right?
There's the pain of adoption there, and then there's also, okay, what are the beliefs someone has where they are in their given stage of life or business, and
Yes.
can you have something, if we're talking offer wise, can we have something that complements or enhances? You have great stories about this of like, okay, if we're talking joint ventures here, how do you come in, show someone that you really love what they're doing, and you have a story on this, I know you do, of adding something to what they're already doing, almost like product development for them, and coming in and showing them like you have this idea that could really serve their audience even more, and then it's a win-win-win for everybody.
I got the
Please share your
story.
story on that.
I got the story. I know this is a good one, and this one hit me by surprise because I was sitting there with my son watching a normal video, and I instantly ran to a notebook to write down what I learned. Right? It was actually really really deep. Um, this story was about with totally forgot his name. It was Sniper Wolf. If you heard about Sniper Wolf, right? That YouTube channel, the girl who she kind of just does reaction videos to stuff that she sees on the web, right? So she has a specific video that is focused on what to do if you're bored, right? Summer. It was summertime, right? What are some funny but also insane things people do when they're bored in summer? So it starts off with a couple of funny things to catch engagement, right? You're like, oh snap, like someone jumped off the building to a pool and it ripped through. Right? She laughs at that, whatever. And then she brings the next one where it's engaging. But then she does this next one, right? Where she says, when I'm home bored, I like to play apps, right? And what we have going on right now is a specific app called Train Your Dragon, right? Where you train your dragon enough to fight other dragons in the space. And if you opt in now before this video, before the end of the month, you will get a signature Sniper Wolf pack, right? Where you can get a Sniper Wolf dragon to train, right? And you'll get 1,000 XP, right? So you'll automatically upgrade to level 10, right? And you get three different um uh like I guess like perks or like gear you can wear for Sniper Wolf.
Mhm.
And it's a Sniper Wolf dragon. And she says if you as long as you sign up with this code, you win. And then after that video, after that portion, she then continues with other things you could do in the summer. And I remember thinking, dude, how insane was it for that person who created the app to approach Sniper Wolf with the content idea of summer activities? This is the beginning of summer. So it's his idea to approach with the summer ideas and then say, here's some things you can mention, But more importantly, here's an app that I think they can do during the summertime, which is aligned to the content. And here's an offer that you can give away to your people as a way of a free value add. And on top of that, every person who signs up, I will give you 10 cents, right? And I'm like, dude, like that's a no-brainer offer. You gave
Yeah.
content to the creator who has to focus on content the entire time. So you focus on all of them. You've given some clips, you've given the app, you've given resources, and it's like all tied in with a bow on top. And I'm like, that guy is genius. Like, how much money did he really make from that? Like, so I thought that was an amazing story. And it's funny because 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, I saw the name company, the name app, same app with a different YouTube creator with their own dragon, in this case, FaZe Rug. I'm like, oh, this guy's everywhere now.
Yeah.
So,
He's finding
genius.
that leverage and joining mission. It's like missional partners than it is. Ultimately they both want to grow their business, and they have a similar audience, and I think that side of business excites me, the Dream 100 side of things, and like really working on that because with that I think it also brings up this quote I heard. It was like, those who market tend to market because they don't know how to build product, and those who they're building product, product development, they don't know how to market. And so, insert agencies or, where people try to join forces, or like, hey, instead of me doing the hard work of putting content out there, that 12 to 16 month grind of organic content, why don't I just try to join ventures with this person who's already doing that really well, which is awesome. But imagine if you did both of them. Imagine if you were doing both. Like, I think content is that hard game. I was just talking to someone this week. It was caught in the stuff of like, hey, I need to work on that email sequence and this and that. It's like, dude, you have minimum viable. Like, get loud, get content out there. It's what we're trying to do. You need content. Like, nobody knows about your offer. And he's working on some joint ventures, but it's like, put content out there. It's the lifeline. I mean, sales is too, but you're not going to have the sales unless people actually start to hear the message and you start to hit that belief that they have.
What's that saying that Dan Kennedy says? They said there's no strategic advantage for being the best person in town if no one knows about it.
Exactly.
Right. And I'm like, that's genius. And if anything, it brings up a really good point that I want to highlight, and a plan that I had in place that I wanted to, together, unveil the strategy that we see that is success, and actually recreate that for others to follow, right, in a way where they can see it and then actually they hold us accountable. So it's an upward spiral of like, let's just help each other out. Yeah. And I had this idea that I wanted to run by you on this call right here, and maybe next week we can do a live session of us building it out. But what do you think about that? Sharing this idea of how I plan to get these leads that's going to convert into sales that they can apply, whoever's listening.
I love it. That's in the trenches stuff. Let's hit it.
In the trenches, right? So we got maybe like 20 minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Yeah. But here's my idea. Our goal is to put together, as everyone who's listening now, they know that we are hungry to give resources for others to consume that's going to help them succeed. In this case, succeed with sales, because that's the lifeblood. Like you said, it's the lifeblood of the business. What's that saying you said? Those who don't market sell, and those who don't sell create products, right? Yeah. And it's just stuck there. So our goal is to get people to come consume that product, right? To see what we have built for them. In this case, what we got built. We have, and I wanted you to say it because you are like the mastermind behind this beautiful machine we have built. If you had to put it in a couple of sentences, what is it that we have built for everyone listening?
Yeah, so we have seen the common disconnect between lead flow and cash flow. Oftentimes there's even just a lead flow problem, right? But in between leads coming in and cash going into your business, aka impact, aka serving people, is that sales system, is that engine for your business that's going to get the car as far as you want to take it. And so that's where we've created Scaling Engine to come into play, to be your all-in-one acquisition system, leverage automation, AI, have incredible personalized follow-up to the right person, the right time, consistently over time to generate more sales.
I love that. And you mentioned an idea, actually a story came to my mind when you said that. I remember I was doing outreach to a software business owner who was doing roughly 4 million in sales, and it was my goal to nurture a relationship with that person. And I remember if building a relationship, we eventually want to buy the company. So I remember speaking to him on a November. It was November of last year, 2022, and he was a really cool guy. I mean, like we laughed, we talked about our kids. You know, that one first initial sales disco call we scheduled, it was amazing. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna stay connected with you. He's not ready at this time to engage and take next steps to sell his business, but I will follow up with you, and then we'll see when it's a good time. He said, that's absolutely fine. Here's my LinkedIn account. Here's my email. Call me whenever. Hit me up whenever. And then it came about time to follow up, which was about 7 months later. It's about every year you check in because they're not really ready at
Yeah.
that time. And I remember circling back with that person, and I'm like, hey, what's up? It's me. I was like, hey, oh man, I wish you reached out to me earlier, man. Like, I sold my business already. Now I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no. And mind you, that's like a 10K, 20K commission on just that. And I was like, oh, when did you do this? He was like, it was like 2 months after I spoke with him.
Wow.
2 months, 2 months. And I'm like, he wasn't ready, but he became ready, especially
Mm-hmm.
after I gave him ideas. So I warmed him up, and someone else came and swooped in and sold him. And I was like, that's the worst feeling ever. Like, you were still friends, but I missed out on the opportunity because I wasn't able to nurture the relationship consistently, right? Between the lead coming in, mind you, had a great lead, up
Mm-hmm.
until the selling point, there was no middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was like, and this is the idea I want everyone to walk. I'm sure everyone felt this before, but this is what what we're putting together, that system to help capture the people that you speak with, and then be able to periodically touch them, so that way the relationship is built, and it naturally walks into a sale, especially when they're not ready in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the whole idea that I want to make
Yes,
sure everyone is sees or feels, because it sucks. It
for
sucks.
sure. There was no bridge, right? They're
There's no
stuck over
bridge.
here with their problem. They're looking, it's almost like a drawbridge. They just keep running
Yeah.
against, and they ultimately want that goal. They have these problems they want to get rid of, and they have the goal they want to move towards. And you were starting to draw your bridge, lower your bridge, and then it's like, I can't. It won't go. And then someone else said, here, come across my bridge. They were
Yes,
ready
it's
to
that
cross the
already.
bridge. Eventually, they knew they wanted to eventually. So when that time came, ah, Daniel's bridge. I guess your bridge wasn't even on their mind,
No.
right? Because the relationship had some distance between it. So
Exactly. Exactly. And
yes,
that's a very good point. And that's what we want to highlight. And more importantly, not just highlight that, but show a live representation of how this is done, so people can mimic, right? Because what's that
yep,
4 minute mile? If we can break the 4 minute mile live, then others will want to copy the same. So here's what I got planned for everyone. I have My goal is to throw out some of these additional cooks, like I did with the guy I just met with, right? And the outcome is this: if I can go to a complementary market that is serving is kind of like the, in this case is a Dream 100 for us, for scaling engine, right? It, I'm gonna go into that Dream 100 area, and I want to create a plan where I can draw that bridge between that environment, that, I guess, the ecosystem, or that target, that market. There you go, that market. Draw a bridge between there and bring them back into scaling engine for a conversation where we can then close them. We want to do that live.
mm-hmm.
So, and that's the idea. How do we get that? How do we connect it in a way where it's automated but personalized, and every single person feels our touch along the way? And that's what I want to do. And the market that we're tapping into will be software, right? Software is growing heavily. AI is in everyone's pockets, right? Everyone wants to build software. Everyone wants to do things like that. So we're going to build a bridge that's going to nurture that relationship, bring them into our world, and show them how they can recreate or use software in a way to nurture their leads, get more sales, all that good stuff. So that's what I have in mind, what I want to do. And the first step I want to do and I want to show is, how do I, after that first conversation I have with that person, mind you, I'm having these conversations with the guys, those
Yeah,
software owners of the world. What steps do I take step by step to lead them to the end goal? We could
Mhm.
highlight it here now, but I think I would love to open up to any questions you have so far before I get into the nitty gritty, and then let's see where we can take it from here.
Yeah, I think this excites me a lot just to have a live build out of the very thing that we're, installing for other people. And I think the big three uh, aspects here that are going to fuel the whole thing is visibility, right? We're going to have visibility on pipeline, on efforts. So we know where we're at in the process and like what sales opportunities there actually are. Consistency, right? We're going to create consistency, consistent touch points. Um, that's where so many things fail, right? We're just not consistent with it. Someone literally messaged me that today. It's just like, my biggest struggle with the podcast, I'm not consistent. I'm like, yes, the podcast can fuel your business. Just being consistent with it is the hard part. And then finally is equity, like just driving with value, driving with, you and I are big on this. What we're trying to do here. How do we give away knowledge, expertise for free, build a relationship, show people that they are in control of the decision. They are in control of where they want to take things, empower them that they have ownership. And we can be guides that have a very viable solution to supercharge it. So that was just three things I thought of as you were saying that, what I wanted to add that are like key aspects of our system and of what we're going to do.
That's amazing that you mentioned that, because before even getting to the nitty gritty, it goes back to that point of the pre-frame we mentioned initially in this video or this talk. One of the biggest things that I've heard, this was actually the book from the Light Switch. He says his as an ex-CIA agent, his job was to go overseas and recruit overseas diplomats to become an enemy of their own state or a spy of their own state. So that was his job. Like he had to go over to whatever country it was, find someone, maybe through a barbershop, and convince them that, hey, how about you become a traitor of your own country? And they're like, that's a great idea. And he does it, right? If he can sell someone to do that and risk life imprisonment or death, we can sell $1,000 product, right? And I'm like and he says in that in that way, in order to do that, it came down to 5 simple steps. It was called I think it was proximity, right? Being in the area often, so proximity, duration, how often you're with them. I mean, how long you're hanging out with them or how long they're engaging with you. Frequency, how often you're around them, right? Intensity, what's that feeling you give them in that moment when they walk away from you? They're like, I remember that guy, right? So proximity, duration, frequency, and intensity. Those are the top 4. My fault right there. And I remember thinking, like, the same cell system you're creating right now does all that. It
Yeah.
stays in their mind. It's in their email. It's in proximity, right? It's within the tools they use, whether it's text, email, Facebook Live. It feels like you're around all the time. Frequency, how often you're messaging them. The automation is used in a personalized way to see them every 1 day, 2 days, in a non pushy way, but rather like, hey, I found something that's helpful for you that you might like.
It stops when the
Durate
right triggers, right? If the conversation
it the
starts
right
flowing,
triggers.
turn the automation off. Yeah.
Exactly. And it doesn't, you're right. That's a big part right there, the intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Intensity meaning like
Yes.
what they feel at the end of it. If they feel like they're in automation and like, oh, like I've had automation that would follow up with someone after I messaged them already, had a conversation. And I was like, they were like,
Worst
hey,
feeling
like,
ever.
oh, and I was like, oh no, I'm so sorry. Like, that's an automation. I'm sorry, I can't trust it. But it ruins trust because it makes it feel like, oh, that wasn't just for me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just for me. And I told you that story with my wife where I woke up early in the morning and I was like, I want to start this day letting her know that I love her. It was like 6 a.m. She's not awake at 6, but I create the text message, a long, beautiful message with some gifts to be funny. And I had it scheduled for 8 o'clock when she wakes up, right? And then she replied when she saw it at 8 o'clock, she loved it, right? She was like, oh, that was amazing. Until I said I automated it. And she was like, "Ah, like you could have sent that to a lot of people." Like, the moment she realized it was automation, it took a big hit in the feeling.
Even though
Right
you
now,
custom wrote it. Yeah. It wasn't
I
like you did
custom.
anything wrong. You didn't want to forget.
Exactly.
but people shouldn't feel the automation, or
They
you know what
shouldn't
I mean?
feel it.
Yeah,
And that
it's still
intensity,
intentional.
exactly. But the feeling they got was like, oh, well, it wasn't a in the moment thing.
Hmm.
Right. And that's what they feel when especially in sales outreach, it feels like you're in a sales message, in a sales sequence. I'm just a number in your machine. It ruins the intensity, the feeling of it, and it's hard to convert. Right. So I want to highlight all that. Like Noah's thought of every scenario, and we use the same tactics that the CIA agents are using to convert overseas spies, right? But to help you make a sale. And I think that's gonna be the beauty of what we want to highlight. I think next week we're going to show step by step of how this is done. In this case, it's all starting out in that SaaS market or software market with the first conversation I had already. I can show them how I'm getting the first conversation, but what trickles afterward is the that's where the magic juice is happening, right? That's
Yes.
what's going on.
I think it's important to note that we're like working on this as we go, like trying to perfect it. And perfection's, a moving target. But the framework that you just laid out, that is consistent, right? So we want to infuse that framework and evolve the quality there. But then ultimately, when you take that and know that there's only 6 ways to acquire a customer, and you can even simplify that down to outbound, inbound, right? How do you create inbound lead flow, outbound lead flow? Comes into this framework, this system that is personalized, you can have scale, and creates those sales opportunities predictably. As long as you don't cut off your activity to create that lead flow, it's all going to capture into one place, which is the biggest time saver. We know that, right? Instead of being scattered, ping dings, overwhelm, multiple channels to keep up with, the more we can consolidate, automate, but personalize, I think that's going to be key. And it's cool to see people getting results with it already.
Yeah, no, seriously, I've had two companies that are I know for one of them they're getting like a 24% open rate, right? In terms of like outreach, right? And now it's just like, hey, it's sitting there, it's getting the work done. I remember for another company, we're doing the LinkedIn outreach and what are like 2 book calls, 3 book calls, and they've just started. So like it really works out. But to highlight what Noah said, like it is something where we're kind of putting our love for the idea or for the vision of like helping and putting it someplace, right? And this is the place it's going, right? We're testing it out, we're enjoying the process, and we're putting it inside there so others can keep it, right? So I think that's the most important piece.
100%. Dude, we all want something. We all want things we can rely on. You know what I mean? We want stability in life. We want stability in business. To some degree, that's not, you can't have perfect, it's not gonna be predictable. Life's unpredictable, right? But the more we can have, a stable base that's reliable and that can be built upon, I think that's the vision. That's the goal, is to have that engine is going to run, and there's not going to be people left behind. There's not going to be people who just go on to the next person and they miss the impact you would have had on them because you were a great fit. They just didn't, in this day and age, they didn't get the response they needed to engage with you and to move forward with you.
Exactly. So if anything, for anyone who's listening, of course we're gonna go over this right now because that's gonna be way too long. And rather, we want to make sure that we prepare this in a way where the person who's engaging is tailored to them, right? But also shows how we're doing it, right? So, h- where would we suggest a person to go? Where would you go, Noah, for them to see this process live, right? I know we want to have a workshop style. Is there any place that they can head to right now where, if by emailing or a link, I know that you're the superpower, you're the superhero in that scenario, right? But is there any URLs or anything where anyone can check out to go to? What do you think?
I think scalingengine.com and going to the demo page is the best. Just because you're going to see a video of me walking through how the system works in a drawn out way, like a doodle, so you can understand what that looks like. And then if you wanted to book a demo, we can do a live walkthrough of it with you. But we really focus on helping understand how it fits into your business and how it can ultimately 2 to 3x your time and your sales opportunities in your business. So we're working on more ways to just to show it and to get it out there and to have on-demand stuff. But there's definitely, they can definitely catch the overview of the system and the framework there.
That's 100% true, and I think that's the best place to go for now. At least to book the time to be a part of the workshop. And we're definitely launching this more. This is like a soft touch right now.
Mhm.
But the idea is that we want to be able to show our process live, but feel free to go there to take a look at an overview of it. And by you scheduling a time just to chat and see how this works out, we can then have you kind of on the wait list for that workshop, right? So you can start seeing everything before all of this turns out. And if anything, get your questions answered, right? Like, hey, this is how we're doing it. And you can say, oh, how would you apply this in this environment? And we can show you, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, we love this stuff. So I
Yeah.
think that's the
Open book,
best
right?
part.
Yeah, totally. And I guess at the time of this video coming out, check links below too to join the community. Hop in, start asking questions. Like success open source, that's the vision, right? We want to unlock potential, unlock impact together, and bring in everybody in this digital renaissance, digital entrepreneurship age, and let's learn from each other. Let's unlock things with each other for free, and then move towards impact and possibilities you really cannot see or achieve on your own.
I remember hearing that from the Navy. They said the military in general, it's like 2 is 1 and 1 is none, right?
Yes.
If you want to go faster, go alone. If you want to go farther, go together, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the idea. Like that's, being able to have someone a battle buddy to share the idea with, right? But more importantly, they're testing it out and they're buying you time.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, buying time.
Bro, how are we supposed to have realistic expectations for 3 steps ahead without talking to someone who's been there or who is there? Books can paint the picture of the outcome and the strategy, but what about the trenches? What about the scraping the knees? What about expectations of like, this is what it looked like for me. Like I'm also going in the same direction as you. I just think there's immense power in that just a book and videos can't necessarily convey without that relationship and talking to people who are in the thick of it and who have done it and who are going where you want to go.
Exactly. So we'll probably end it there, just knowing that, hey, you have a place to go to see what we're going to be doing live in our workshop, right? We'll be laying out exactly how we're going to go to a specific market and start pulling the people from that market over to our world and converting them on a long-term play. And then actually we'll have a place where we can show live, these are the sales that we got, right? And this is coming from scratch, like from ground zero, right? We're going to show exactly how we're doing everything. So that way people can feel like, okay, first of all, you guys are legit. You started from scratch. But at the same time, you can see what we had to think through so you can just apply the same, right? Take the same templates, take the same framework and just run with it. And then because we're just one step ahead, after that week comes out, you can ask us, hey, how did I do? I'm copying what you're doing. And we can give you feedback, right? I think that's the beauty of it. We're playing this game together, right? Yes. Only way to make success more achievable is to make it open sourced.
It's the best part, man. Good stuff.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a wrap, man. We'll catch you next week. Everybody here, we're going to keep on building and launch it together and keep trying to make some massive impact. Hey, thanks for watching the Success Open Source Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love for you to subscribe and join the community. Until next time, take care and let's all make success a little more open source.